Well, hello, my valued listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Living in Your Power. I'm your host, Dr. Marleen Greenleaf, and today's episode, we're still celebrating Women's History Month with our theme, Women Who Rise, Strength, Leadership, and Empowerment. Today, we're highlighting Mayor Muriel Bowser's leadership in fighting for district funding and standing firm in the face of a possible $1 billion budget cut. We'll also share my journey of resilience in completing a half marathon this past Saturday, despite facing doubt, an injured right toe, and some brutal hills. So let's dive in. This one is all about fighting for what matters and pushing through challenges. Now, as I've said before, leadership isn't just about having a title. It's about standing in the gap for the people who rely on you. And Mayor Muriel Bowser is proving just that. When the latest government funding bill threatened to strip $1 billion from the D.C. budget, it wasn't just a political issue. It was a crisis that could have gutted essential services like schools, public safety, and community programs. But she wasn't alone in this fight. The Senate swiftly passed legislation late Friday to protect the district budget, fixing a provision that could have forced devastating cuts. And you know who helped make this happen? Women leaders. Senator Susan Collins, a Republican from Maine, stood up and made it clear that D.C. should be able to use its own tax revenues. And this wasn't about federal dollars. It was about ensuring that an entire city didn't lose essential funding overnight. Now, the bill passed unanimously without dissent. And that is a powerful example of what leadership looks like when people work together for the greater good. You know, in moments like these, that reminds us that women in leadership matters. Policy decisions have real life consequences. And when strong leaders stand up, change happens. And we need more like this. Leaders willing to fight for the people they serve. Now let's talk about my personal strength, mental, physical, and spiritual. So I did a thing this past Saturday. Well, actually, God did it. On Saturday, I ran and walked the Rock and Roll DC Half Marathon. But it wasn't just any race. It was my Sabbath, and I was running with an injured right toe that had me doubting whether I could even finish. I mean, I questioned if I could even be there, and I wondered if my body would hold up. And I have to ask, when did DC get all these hills? I mean, mile 7 nearly took me out. I had to push through with pressure on my sore toe, and no, you will not see an image of my feet. Never ever. And then, just when I thought I was in the clear, another winding hill at mile 10, I think it was, tried to test me. But guess what? I kept going. And just like that, I finished the race. I saw mile 13 and I had to stop and take a picture while people were cheering me on to keep going. And I was like, yeah, let me get this picture so you guys know that I made it to mile 13. I mean, how many times in life do we hesitate because of doubt? How often do we question if we can get through a challenge only to realize we are stronger than we think? Yes. This half marathon was tough, but it's finished. And let me just say, I was not the last one to cross the finish line. There were 218 people behind me. I'm just saying. But hey, I can't help but feel grateful. Grateful for the experience, the strength, and the journey. But here's what I also realized. Faith is about trusting the process, even when you don't have all the answers. Resilience is about showing up even when doubt creeps in. And strength is about taking one step at a time, literally and figuratively. And now, well, yes, I am sore, but I'm also victorious. And this moment, it all reminds me of something important. That perseverance is power. Your faith will carry you through when doubt tries to hold you back. And sometimes the toughest moments bring the most rewarding victories. This race also reminded me that our limits are often mental, not physical. So what does Mayor Bowser's leadership and my half marathon have in common, you may ask? Well, they are both about rising to the challenge, standing strong, and refusing to give up. My dear listeners, leadership requires endurance. It's about fighting battles that others may not even see. Personal resilience is no different. When life throws challenges our way, we have two choices. We either give up or we keep going. And in both cases, success is about faith, focus, and taking it one step at a time. So my question to you is, what challenge are you facing right now that requires you to push forward? As we close out today's episode, here's what I want you to take with you. Women like Mayor Bowser are showing us what real leadership looks like. Strength isn't just about physical endurance. It's about faith, perseverance, and believing you can rise beyond doubt. And we all have moments where we wonder if we can make it. But we can, taking it one step at a time. And here's your challenge for this week. I want you to stand strong in something that matters to you, whether it's advocating for a cause or pushing through a personal challenge. I also want you to find a moment to celebrate a win, even if it's just taking the next step forward. And remind yourself, you are stronger than you think. I want to thank you for joining me today. And remember, live boldly in your power. And if it gets tough, just breathe. You still have the strength to rise. So until next time, dear listeners, stay strong, stay inspired, keep rising, and keep living in your power.